My name's Moran. Having completed my BA and MA in Fine Art at De Montfort University in Leicester, I've been a practising artist for the last 10 years, exhibiting work in several countries around the world. My practice has developed over the years from a purely sculptural process to include the exploration of light as a sculptural material and the technologies that can enable this. This has culminated in my current practice-based PhD research, in which I'm investigating the potential of siting lighted artworks within the urban environment to create installations that exhibit a harmonious relationship with their settings and their surroundings. Over the past decade, my practice has evolved both thematically and formally. Upon completing my BA, much of my work was focused on the use of chance processes in order to make sculptural objects, using anything from dice to random number generators to make my artistic decisions. This began to change throughout my MA studies as I began to work with light as a medium, finding my footing more as a visual artist with that. Much of my work since has focused on the sculptural potential of light, using it to try and emulate physical form or to simulate the application of pigment through the use of projection. Most recently, this has taken the form of creating sculptural works that incorporate a number of different lenses in order to diffract light in different ways, and then adding kinetic elements to create light displays that subtly shift and move around a space. The lockdown period has resulted in a major shift in quite a few areas of my practice, as I imagine most people in the field have experienced. Most significantly has been the research aspect of this, though. Within my practice-based doctoral research, I have a particular focus on the integration of lighted artworks within the urban environment. And the most obvious impact of lockdown upon this was that I was suddenly unable to access the urban environment, let alone my studio, meaning that projects that I'd been working on mere days before lockdown were suddenly put on hold. In addition to this, it became clear that the very basis of my research practice, the act of developing artworks for siting in the public realm, was suddenly unviable, and the vast majority of the opportunities that I would normally be applying for to financially support my practice and allow me to test artifacts that I was making within their intended environments suddenly dried up. This left me with a question: how could I research the function of public art when I wasn't allowed to be in the public? I found comfort early on in lockdown focusing on the more research-based aspects of my practice, getting more writing done in an attempt to ensure that I didn't lose any momentum that I'd been building over the last few years. As I began to realise that lockdown was going to go on longer than I'd originally assumed, I began to consider new ways of developing my light-based practice. Originally, this consisted of exploring my immediate surroundings, i.e. my home, my garden, and photographing different tricks of light caused by blinds or textured glass, and taking photos as they moved around the space, hoping to find some level of inspiration from it. Coincidentally, alongside this, I found that I was beginning to build more of a relationship with my immediate neighbours, people who I'd actually never really had this sort of relationship in years of living here. With this in mind, I started thinking about the irony of developing more social bonds during a time when social interaction was effectively put on hold. With this in mind, I began to develop the idea of creating a large-scale public light work that utilised and displayed these newfound connections. The resulting piece, Hadnam 2125, required myself and my neighbours to work in unison to create a coordinated piece of lighting across 3 properties for a short period, and then documenting it photographically. Around this time, I was also lucky enough to be commissioned by Interact Digital Arts, which is a Leicester-based organisation that organises digital arts exhibitions within the city, but also incorporates artists from across the world. I was commissioned basically to create new work that we could use to develop a online digital exhibition program. In order to develop this, it meant that without being able to access my studio, I found that I had to change a number of things within my practice, including both scale and medium. I began exploring hand-drawn techniques and digital processes in order to create short animations, a process that was fairly new to me, having not really been touched on since my foundation studies, which was almost 15 years ago. These animations were then combined with cutting-edge holographic fan technology and found objects in order to create 1984-2020. Working in this manner allowed me to make a number of connections with my artistic practice and my research practice, leading me to begin formulating ideas around creating artworks that build upon existing aspects of the urban environment, such as in this work, the use of the CCTV camera housing that's instantly recognizable. And then using these as a way of then putting work back into the urban environment in a way that fits and is more harmonious because these items are expected to be there. One specific problem that I had to overcome with this, however, was how best to present a more sculptural practice within a digital format. Due to the time-based element, normally I would expect viewers to take their time experiencing the piece from different angles and moving around the space. As such, I needed to create a short video that showcased the piece from different angles in order to try and simulate this for use in the digital exhibition. Whilst this worked to a certain extent for these purposes, I'm still left kind of quite unsatisfied with it as a way of viewing the work. The viewers were unable to experience the sound of the fan that accompanied the piece, or even the physical movement of the air created as the fan moved, and were not able to move around the work at will and basically experience it on their own terms. I'm still not sure how we can make sculpture more accessible in a digital format like this, but that's definitely a question to consider for the future. And I think it's something that's definitely impacted my entire experience of art via this lockdown. Currently, I'm focusing on the development of my PhD research, investigating new ideas for sculptural interventions within the public environment, and then deciphering the best ways in which to test these new works within the public area. Due to being based in Leicester, we've kind of yet to see the lockdown lifted in the same way that other parts of the country have. So for the time being, I'm still experiencing many of the restrictions on how and where I can install work in order to gather this much needed feedback and test ideas. To this end, myself and a number of other artists involved with the Digital Arts Leicester programme will be taking part in a series of online crits with the Birmingham-based Black Hole Club in order to discuss ongoing projects, gather vital feedback from our peers, and also develop new ideas for collaborations. My plans for the future include developing ideas that began with the work 1984-2020, looking to build upon the incorporation of existing artefacts from the urban environment within my practice. There are many instantly recognisable objects that are littered around these sorts of areas. Abandoned mattresses or furniture, road signs and traffic cones, shop signage. Can any of these be utilised or beautified to create new artistic interventions within the public realm?